Okay, I got my cover plates for my cams all cleaned up pretty good, and I got a bunch of new O-rings and gaskets for my from my overhaul kit. So I found the right ones to go on this. I'm gonna put all new O-rings on them, and then I'm gonna put them on. And the bolts are torqued to 30 foot-pounds. All right. See if we can figure out which way this one goes. It only goes one way. That's the drain hole for the head that drains oil down onto the gears. Lubricates the gears. All the leak oil from the head runs down onto the gear train. Maybe get something to tap that in with. Just using this thing, gently tap it in. Alright, it's torqued at 30 foot-pounds. Not very much. Went slightly past it. Felt a little loose. About it. Okay, this is the camshaft gear. I mean, the injector cam gear. And the gear kind of goes like this. The bolts go in it, and this retainer plate goes like this, and that's what holds it. Okay. Now this retainer plate is really thick and flat on mine. Some of the older ones had a retainer plate that was actually tapered, and it would deflect inwards and press hard against the gear. Okay? The older style that would deflect and press hard against the gear, I was told by a few different shops and mechanics that anytime you take that type of plate off, you should replace it with a new one, because they tend to crack after you've taken them off once or twice. So if you're taking, you know, if you see somebody working on your engine and they're removing this and you've got that tapered plate, tell them to make sure they replace this tapered plate. You know, I don't recommend people following my YouTube videos and rebuilding their motor. You know, this is not an instructional video. I'm just rebuilding my own engine, making a YouTube video of it, how I would do it, how I'm doing it. You know, you should always follow the book and make sure you do the correct procedures on these gears, because mine doesn't have these scissors. You know, there's a scissor gear. Mine doesn't have the scissor in it, a mechanism in it. And with the scissor gear, you have to crank the bolts a certain way to get it off and do a certain thing to get it on. So you should absolutely be following the book on this. I've helped a couple other people, so you know, I'm just doing it my own way. I'm trying to follow the book as best possible, and you know, just you know, educate people on what they should be looking for when somebody does do the work for them, basically. So that's what I know about it. Let's clean it up. You can't have any fingerprints, anything in here. You need to clean this really well with acetone. It needs to be absolutely perfectly clean. Don't rough it up. Don't try to scratch it up and make it more friction, because some of the guys at some of these machine shops or repair shops will, you know, they'll rough up the front nose of the cam, and then they'll rough this up, or I've seen guys take grinding wheels to them or sandpaper, and you can't do that, because what you're doing when you scratch and rough this up is you're making ridges, and now you're reducing the actual contact. You know, there's a contact surface area this thing has. Okay, it's designed to be polished to have a full contact surface area. And when you grind on that stuff, you lose the contact area. You actually reduce the amount of contact between the two pieces of metal by doing that, and it's bad. You're supposed to use Loctite 609 green on it. Yeah, it's 609 green. It's supposed to use Loctite 609 green on it. Since you can't touch it with your finger, you can't, you know, after you acetone wash it and everything, you get it all polished and nice and clean. The same thing with the cam. What I like to do is I like to put the 609 in here and then take a Q-tip and, you know, spread it evenly with a Q-tip and make sure that, you know, you don't leave any dust from the Q-tip, obviously. So anything in here at all, any fingerprints, any oil residue, like right now it's got oil residue, fingerprints and stuff on it, old Loctite, anything in here at all, that injector cam will slip and you will have engine problems. It's got to be dry, very dry and clean. I asked one guy, I also asked somebody about heating the gear so that it expands and then getting it on so it'll fit tighter when it cools. And that was a very bad idea. It ended up cooking the Loctite, it ended up creating problems. It's just best to just do it according to the book. Razor blades in this. Trying not to scratch it. Just get the residue out without scratching it all up. Do it like this. Okay. Trying to clean this without scratching it beyond all get away. Acetone. We already cleaned this before we installed it. Just get it in with acetone real good. All the fingerprints, any oil, good acetone wash. Loctite 609. Get the Q-tip here. That way. Grab a paper towel and hold that. There you go. I got a tiny little bit of oil on the threads. touch this with my hand on the back side where it's going to mate. This one. Wash this one. 160. And then 90 degrees after that. It's awful tight. Okay. And then to go another 90. Okay.
What are we doing here?
Now we got to rotate the bowl 90 degrees. Another 90 degrees. I marked it right there at the top. Have to get to 160. Book says rotated another 90. That's awful tight. Oh, that's tight. Sure. It's a couple hundred foot-pounds right there. Right there at it though. That's it. That's 90. Now we're going to do the other gear. Start knocking the old Loctite out of it.
So how do you feel about the Scotch-Brite pads for that, cleaning that?
Scotch-Brite too hard on it would mess it up. It would scratch it too much.
Okay.
I'm taking a razor blade because it'll get all the, you know, everything above the surface pretty much. You know, this stuff that's embedded a little bit, it won't get. So I'll hit that with a Scotch-Brite, but I'll do it real lightly. So if I get most of it with this and then just real lightly touch it with Scotch-Brite, I won't scratch it nearly as bad. Trying to get it off the back side here. Get that groove out of there. We had the excess last time. No 90 degrees after or nothing?
Nothing.
Just 109. All right. You got set on 109?
109.
All right.